Hello everyone, I'm Miss Karen at Adams Memorial Library. Welcome to September's Bake-A-Tale. So if you've seen Bake-A-Tale before, you know this is a program where we talk about books, which I have, and a recipe, which I have, and some art projects, which I have. I also have Dandelion and Bryony, the library's friends, who are going to join us for, some of these videos also, because somebody's got to test the recipes, right? I can make it, they can test it. And they've got their apple today because that's what this month's program is going to be about. Apple things, apple books, apple muffins, cinnamon apple muffins for the recipe, and apple crafts. There's apple sun catchers that you can hang in a window, and apple bookmarks that you might need when you're reading these books about apples. Well, some of them are a little bit about apples and some of them feature apples more prominently, but you can check all these library books out, take them home, and it'll put you in the mood to use apples and bake this month's recipe. So if you can come into the library, you can come down to the children's room and pick up the take-home kit, which will have the recipe in it and some materials to make the crafts. If you're not able to come in, you can always email, and I'd be happy to email you the recipe and the craft instructions. You can come down to the children's room and pick up a kit, or you can always just call us and we'll be happy to reserve them for you, and you can just pick it up through curbside service. You don't even have to come in. The books I have this time are Water is Water by Miranda Paul and Jason Chin, and this is one of the ones that kind of talks about the water cycle, how it goes through the year, but it also involves apples. Red Sings from the Treetops, A Year in Color, and it's written by Joyce Sidman. This book is full of poems. Joyce Sidman wrote the poems, and Pamela Zagorensky did the pictures, and maybe you can guess what could be red. Red as in, I'll bet you can guess. This book is called Rain Makes Applesauce, and I think this is just a funny book. Do you think rain makes applesauce? I think it would make a big mess if it did, but it's always funny to think about. Rain Makes Applesauce is an old book, and it was written by Julian Shear, and the pictures are by Marvin Billick. And this last one is called The Apple Orchard Riddle, and it's about Mr. Tiffin and his class when they visit an apple orchard. This is written by Margaret McNamara and illustrated by G. Brian Karras. So you know about water. Sometimes it's water, sometimes it's steam, sometimes it's ice, but it's not just people who need water. It is also trees, specifically apple trees. If we want to get apples on the trees, we have to make sure that the apple trees get enough water for the roots, so we can get some apple cider from the trees. So since there's an apple tree featured in this book, that reminded me of a good book to read when you're talking about apples. Did you guess that red, the color red, might be used to talk about apples? If you did, you are right. This is one of the autumn poems. Red splashes fall trees, seeps into every vein of every five-fingered leaf. Red swells on branches bent low. Red, crispy, juicy, crunch. Red as an apple. This book, I like all the poems in this book. You could read the autumn poems. You could read the end of summer poems. You could get ready for winter and spring too. Now, Rain Makes Applesauce. It's just got funny pictures and funny words because the words say things like, the stars are made of lemon juice and rain makes applesauce. I wear my shoes inside out. Rain makes applesauce. And my house goes walking every day. And rain makes applesauce. And I like that on some of the pages there's somebody saying, oh, you're just talking silly talk. But silly talk about apples is always fun. And finally, if you check out the Apple Orchard Riddle, it'll tell you something else you can do with apples. maybe if you were using apples to make this month's recipe, before you throw them away, you can do your own apple art with them, which is what they find out about in doing in this book. So you can solve the riddle and you can do some art too, and you can learn about apples. I learned how to pick apples from this book. It says you don't want to just pull them from the tree, you twist them so they'll come off. So learn something from books all the time. But let me tell you a little bit about this month's recipe. They're cinnamon apple muffins, and they're very easy. And as you know, it's always better to bake with a friend. It's much more fun, but you do need an adult for this recipe. Somebody's got to work the oven. And also, it's an easy recipe that calls for grated apple. And I did, took my apple and grated it with a box grater. I think you could probably just cut it up too, just dice it into small pieces. But that's how you get the apple in these muffins. So they were very easy. I would also say when you're filling them up, maybe only fill them halfway. I only ended up with 10.5 muffins instead of 12 because you can see some of mine got a little bit big. But it was easy peasy to do. They taste good. If you like apples, you like muffins, you could have them for a snack. You could have them for breakfast. And I think that's a sign of a good recipe. So you can get the recipe, make the muffins, and then you can do a couple of crafts too. The first craft would be these apple sun catchers. As I said, if you hang them up on a window, the light will shine through and it'll look pretty nice. It's very, very important though. The most important thing about this one is you have to make sure that you cover up your work surface, because when you are coloring on the coffee filter that goes in the middle, this is what happens. It will go straight through. So make sure you put down some old paper, newspaper, plastic bag, something that you can color on. When you do this, there'll be coffee filter in your craft kit and a red paper with an apple outline. You will take the coffee filter and put it on top of something else, and then you can color on it. If you have markers at home, you can do those. You could use paints. You could use colored pencils or crayons. Color it. I used red and orange and yellow and green and a little bit of pink because I thought those were sort of apple colors, but you can use whatever colors you want to make the center part of your apple. Color it however you would like, and then you can either take a spray bottle and spray it a little, not too much. You don't want your coffee filter to break, but you can spray it a little. You can, if you have a dropper, you can drop some water on it. If you have a small paintbrush, you can paint some water over it. Again, not too much water, just a little bit, but when you put the water on, it's going to make the colors blend together. You see how they're kind of blended? That's because the water came on it. So color it on a surface or outside somewhere where you're not going to mess up your table or your floor. Color it and then spray it down a little bit with water. Put a little bit of water on, and it's fun to see the colors all blend, and then let it dry. While you're waiting for it to dry, you can take the apple outline and cut it out. You can either measure or trace rather something round in the middle, or you can just fold this in half and then just kind of cut it, because it doesn't need to be exact. You just need to have a space in the middle. And I will tell you that you don't want to cut it too big, because mine is a little bit too big. So I had to not just use some glue stick to attach it on the back. I needed to tape it down too, because I didn't have quite enough of the red part left. So you want to cut out a space that's big, but not too big. The bigger it is, the more the sun catcher part will show. But on the other hand, you just have to make sure the hole's not so big that you can't attach the coffee filter to it. So your hole can't be any bigger than this, and it will shrink up. This will shrink up a little bit once it's wet. So just make sure you leave enough of a space around it. And then once this is dry, once you have the hole cut out, you can just either use a glue stick, glue it down, it'll just go around to the back, or you can always just tape it. And once it's done, you can tape it on your door, you can tape it on a window, you can tape it on a wall if you want. But wherever you do, it'll just be a nice fall decoration. Do you think you can have too many bookmarks? Because I really don't think you do. I have a lot of books. There's lots of books at the library you need to check out, you need to read, so you might need lots of bookmarks. So we are going to be doing bookmarks. We've done them before, we're going to do them again. I like bookmarks. I love these corner bookmarks because I think they're fun, and then you just stick it right on the corner to mark your page. Can't go wrong with these. They're apples and they have somebody's face on. You can decorate a face. You can put your own face on if you wanted to. If you have a picture, you can cut out a picture of yourself and put it on here. I drew some faces. I gave them a little face paint just to make them look extra fancy. And our corner bookmarks this time are apples. So there'll be some paper in the kit, some red and green. When I did these ones, I cut out a piece of paper like this, an 8.5 by 11 paper. So to get 2 of them, I made my squares 5.5 inches. And that way I could get 2 from one piece of paper. But that does make a fairly small square. If you would like to have a little bit bigger square than this to work with, you can always take your paper. If you fold your paper like this, fold the triangle, you can cut this extra part off and have one big square to work with. It's going to be a little bigger. It's going to take up more room on your page, but you can do it like that if you'd like, or do a 6-inch square, measure with a ruler, measure something out. You can decide how big your square should be. So once you've got your square, just need to make a couple of folds to get it to look like this. See, it's got this little envelope part, and that is what will fit on the corner. It's going to look like this because this is where the decorated part is, but it's going to fit right on the corner like that. Once you have your square, you have your square, and then you'll fold it in half to make a triangle. So you're going to have it folded like this, and then you're going to have the long part at the bottom, and you're going to take the 2 outside corners and fold them up to the top corner. This one's going to go up that way. This one is going to go up that way, and then you're going to have a little kite shape. Once you've done that, open them back up so it looks like a triangle again, but it'll have the creases there. You will have 2 pieces at the front, a front piece and a back piece of paper. You will take just the front one and fold that down. So one part of your triangle here, it's going to go down to make a triangle that's now facing that way. So you'll have one part going up, one part going down. And then remember how you folded these ones into the center? You're going to do that again, but you're also going to tuck them behind this part. That's what's going to make that little pouch. So you bring it back, and instead of having it just come up, you fold it in half and go behind the pouch. Same thing with this. You fold it up and then fold it in half and bend everything down like that. So right now I've got this on the bottom. When you're working, it's actually going to go on the top. You want this to be the top of your apple. And you see how right now it's making a diamond shape? Going to cut it a little bit to kind of round it off, but you can't round it exactly because if you round it too much, it's not going to stay together like this. If you lose these folds at the top, you're just going to end up with pieces of paper and it won't attach on to your page of your book. So you can find something that's a little bit smaller. So if you wanted to trace something round, find something that's going to be a little smaller than your finished diamond here. But really what you want to do is sort of round off the top. You cut the top and then you sort of round off the bottom, but leave these parts leave the top of this fold. You have to leave them alone to keep it, make it like that little roof. So you can round this part, you can round the bottom part, and then just leave these parts by itself. Once you decorate, you can't really tell, but if you see the back of this, it's sort of got some squared off parts like that. That's what's holding it together. So that's why you do that. But if you put a leaf on and you put the face on, people won't really notice. And if by chance you cut it too far, you can tape it together, or you can just try again with another piece of paper. So once you've folded it and once you've rounded it off a little bit, then you can decorate your bookmark. I just used some scraps from the other parts of the kit. We'll put some other paper in here too that you can use. So in nature, maybe there's not going to be a red leaf on my apple, but I thought it would just look nice. So I just made up my own colors, the things that I wanted to do, and I gave my friends a little face paint just to, make them even fancier. And then you can put a little bit on the apple too. You can just cut a leaf out and put some veins on the leaf if you want. This is the top of my apple, the part that's going to go on the page. So you can do it like that. So you can just put a leaf at the top, cut out a smaller circle and make a face, draw some hair, draw eyes, draw a little face on it. It's absolutely up to you. You can decorate it however you want. You can it doesn't have to be a person. You can put an animal on. You can put whatever you would like. However you want to decorate your bookmark is fine because it's your bookmark. Do it however you would like. And I thank you very much for watching. I hope you'll be able to come in and pick up a kit, do the crafts, and I hope if you make the apple cinnamon muffins that you will like them. If you like apples and you like cinnamon, it might be a good call. So please come in and get the kits. And thank you for watching, and I will see you next time when we'll do more stories and more crafts and more recipes. See you next month in October, friends. Thank you very much. Bye.